Do you play well for most of your round and then end up having these two blow up holes that just ruins the scorecard? Or is it the same hole that over and over and over again keeps getting you unstuck? Well, if so, it might just be course management that can help your game. Why don't you let me help you using TrackMan Radar to get your average driver distance and dispersion rates, as well as all of the other distances with your clubs, and I will develop you a personalised plan suited to your game. If so, just find my links in the description below and get in touch. Okay, let's get on with the video. We're at Morley Hayes. We're going to talk about 3 holes and discuss some course management strategy that is going to help your game. As always, we do 18 handicapper, 220-ish yard drives, about 60 yards kind of left or right, so 30 yards left or right of the target into a triangle. We want to be able to, we should be able to hit their 7-iron about 135 yards, and we want to be able to hit a pitching wedge onto the green from about 100 yards, 80-90 yards. So let's get on with it. The first hole we're going to discuss is the first. Now, I've talked about this in one of my other videos, but it's just good because it gives us a few opportunities to talk about some really important things. The first important thing I would say is just playing in your mind the hole from the green backwards. For example, kind of 90 yards over that water, playing it backwards with a comfortable club, let's say 120 yards down the hill. That is an option. I'm not saying that we do that all the time, but it's just an option. We've got a shot a hole. We can one putt if you hit the green in 3. So that is an option. Let's have a look at a different way to play it. Let's say that we do a good drive, right? Big, nice drive. Well, okay, we go about 220 yards. We have a problem straight away. Whenever we put the triangle and at down, which is the dispersion that we tend to hit to, if this is in the hazard or trees, we need to probably think again. Now, for this particular shot, anything to the right here gets blocked out. This is a good portion. And anything kind of to the left of this line means that it's not really worth hitting the green or trying to go for the green with your second shot. Now, you could risk it. You could try and hit a drive down here, but you've only got about a 50% chance of doing that, because if we look at the distance there, that's about 30 yards wide, and hitting a drive into 30-yard wide gap is difficult. But let's say you do hit it to here, you hit a good drive, you get away with it, you've still got 160 yards over some water on a downhill slope. And for the majority of 18 handicappers, they are not competent enough at those types of shots. Whenever there's a downhill slope, you tend to hit lower, and with the water in ahead of you, most people are trying to make the ball lift up to go over the water. So there's lots and lots of bad shots, lots of tops, lots of fats from there. So just to get this day started off well and walk off the first hole with a bogey, I'd recommend just playing that as a 3-shotter. 1, 2, and then 3. Let's move over to the next hole which we're going to discuss, and that is the second. So let's move you over to the second tee. And the second tee is just here. So have you ever seen this? Fairway. There's 2 main hazards here. There's one on the right, a ditch, and there's some on the left. Now this brings us our next important point, is that you really need to know how far you're hitting your clubs. So get a TrackMan session, or if not, hit some shots, and when you play your game, just look at the 150 and just kind of make a note of how far you hit your drives as a rough estimate. Now this really brings a dilemma. At the moment, this is aimed down the middle of the fairway, and what it's doing is it's bringing in this ditch. This is all slopes to the right, which we'll maybe have a look at in a moment. And let's say you hit that perfect drive, and you hit it to here. You have still got 205 yards to go. You're not going to make that shot more than a couple of times out of 10. You know, if you have put your hand on your heart, say right, 10 goes at this shot, how many would come off and be okay? If it's 7 or more, you take the shot on. If it's 3, it's not worth doing. So I think that it's a very difficult shot, this. The longer players, they would want to move their target kind of to the right edge of the fairway to avoid that danger there, and they're going to be pitching up here. But for you shorter hitters, I would say that hitting into this area would give you your 60-yard gap, aiming towards these trees. Then it's just a short A-tine into kind of this area, and then play that as a 3-shotter. Otherwise, you know, a bogey on the hardest hole on the course is not a bad shout. I know it sounds like we're being a bit defensive on the first 2 holes, but you really need to pick which holes you're going to go for, pick which holes you play safe. Last and final hole, and we're going to go to the 7th. Which is a great example of just thinking ahead, knowing how far you hit your clubs. It's slightly downhill, so I've moved this forward, but the driver, anything here is likely to hit these trees and go to the right. Any good shot is going to finish in the water, so you've probably got yourself a 15-yard area to hit the ball into. We don't really need to take that on, because if you hit it to there, yeah, you've got 80-yard shot, but why don't we just lay it back into this area? Look how wide you've got. Aiming at this part, but making sure that you don't hit the shot that will go in the water. From there, you're never going to miss that fairway. You keep out of the danger, and you can hit a 1 shot on there. It's slightly downhill, so it's not going to play that. It's probably going to play about 110. And you either go for the green, or you lay it up short and be super safe. But there's no reason why, you know, your 28 handicappers, your 36 handicappers, to not walk off there with a 5 and a good chance of a 4. If you're trying to get the green, then you're going to get yourself into trouble. So just to recap, know how far you hit your distances, know how wide you hit your driver on average, and find the pattern of the shape of shot you hit. When you get to difficult holes, play the hole backwards and think about, is there an easier way to play for a bogey and reduce those triples and those really high scores. Okay, as always, give us a like, give us some comments, and subscribe for more videos. Thank you.